check-ins. This is AA4FL Next. Don't make your call. WJ8B. Good morning, Andrew. Seem to be coming on the audio a little hot there for some reason. I didn't really analyze it. Distortion. I'm going to try again. Go ahead. WJ8B, did that happen? It still seems a little hotter compared to everyone else's. I mean, I can lower mine and see what's going on the receiving end, but it seems a little bit heavy on the audio. Over. Okay, well, I recently disconnected this for field day. I'm going to make one big change, and I'll be back here in a bit. That is evening. QSL, I'm not sure if you made any changes. You seemed a little better that time, but we look forward to having you return. This is Alpha 4 Foxtrot Lima, the Medical Amateur Radio Council, Marco Digital VoiceNet. She'll be starting here momentarily at the top of the hour and taking early check-ins at this time. Go ahead and make your call. Okay, well, we'll get started here momentarily. Excuse me for having been a little raspy here. I had surgery on Thursday, and the anesthesiologist was okay. This is the top of the hour here, and 1500 UTC, time for the Medical Amateur Radio Council DVNet to begin. So, good afternoon and good morning to the Marco DVNet, depending on where you are, and perhaps even evening, and anyone checks in from other areas. This is AA4FL, your net control for this session, and the purpose of our Marco DVNet is to provide a discussion forum for current medical topics and issues. Marco members act as topic presenters, and our members include hams from all over the world, but all stations, national and international, are welcome to join the net and participate in the discussion, even if you're not members. So checking in gets you on our list for our roundtable discussion and is highly encouraged, although we don't mind if people monitor and just do this for information. This is our station to BBQ WJ8B. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. Thank you for joining us. And this is originating in Hawthorne, Florida today, post-hurricane here, drop one. This also is one of those hurricanes that Chip and I prefer. I go up the alley in between New Orleans and the west coast of Florida. This one came in right below Tallahassee, around Apalachicola or Taylor County, which is surprising when I heard people scalloping yesterday, just a few days after the storm. Usually you wouldn't see a scallop with all the mud running in and everything getting agitated. They're not that hard to see, but you really do want clear water for scallop, and this is scallop season here in Florida. Problem. If there are any stations with emergency or priority traffic for the net, please call net control now. I'm not heard. I know we had a few short-term check-ins or people that are going to be coming in and out of the net. Part-time that would like to check in now, so when the time comes on the exchange, we know on the list that you may or may not be present. But make your call now, AA47. Okay, nothing heard there. Just little housekeeping items in between here. We're starting our roundtable for those who have not participated previously. Just realize the parameters for the net here. If you have a station using radios, enable the busy channel lockout feature. If you have one, enabling that feature will prevent doubling with other stations. And avoid tailgating whenever using the open quantity up. Leave a 2 to 3 second gap before speaking to allow the link repeaters and hotspots to synchronize with the reflector and other repeaters in the network. Wait one. And once again, you're asked to check in using voice. The check-in will be acknowledged by the net control. If you're not acknowledged, try again when the check-ins are called and be aware.
N4TSC, Norway for Tango Sugar Charlie.
Good morning, Jerry. N4TSC. I hope this holds for you. And I've got one of those radios that Jerry and I both have that are being used to a the extent of their technical abilities due to their age, and sometimes we drop out. Today I'm using the DV stick. So good morning, Jerry. I'll be joining you in Palm Beach County here on Monday for a 3.5 week stay. Any other stations that would like to check in at this time, go ahead and make your call.
K3FZT, Kilo 3, Foxtrot, Zulu Tango. K3FZT, Philadelphia.
Good morning, Stephen. K3FZT. Thank you for joining us today from Philadelphia. It's nice hearing your voice again. It seems that having July 4th, we took 1 week off from that, but we missed talking to everyone. This is AA4FO net control for the Marco TV net, taking additional check-ins at this time from all areas. Go ahead and make your call. Okay, good morning and good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is AA4FO today operating from Hawthorne, Florida. As I just mentioned to Jerry, I'm retreating to my second residence, which will be on Monday for 3.5 weeks in Palm Beach County, where I take care of family. Through the end of the year, I'm going to be importing some of them up here. It's been a very difficult sporadic season on 6 meters. I've only had maybe 4 or 5 days to get on. Fortunately, I got 5 or 6 all-time new ones, including Israel this morning and Morocco. But not going to get 100 countries here anytime quick. 73. I dropped one. For my friends that were aware, you can tell I'm a little hoarse right now. The voice is a little raspy. Well, you do not have to do it. I get very friendly. The IR doctor that did my procedure was not available when it was supposed to. Was not available that day, and the young man that stepped in for him was wonderful. He made a new friend and captured images for me, procedural images, so we can write an article in the Ether in October about IR and percutaneous ablations, cryoablations. So it may be a cool article, pun intended. So I'm going to go next down the list for exchange here. On the COVID front, Florida, it depends where you are in the state. A lot of areas are highly vaccinated. I'm not sure about some of the rural areas, but don't really have any statistics from Florida. N5RTF, Chip, are you with us? Go ahead.
AA4FL and the group N5RTF. Jay, you were breaking up a little bit in that last couple of conversations. I missed probably the middle of it, but I had no idea that your surgery was this week. I'm glad you're doing okay. You said something about a thyroidectomy, and I actually scrubbed in on one of those in medical school, and took at 4 hours they let the students go to have lunch and go to class. And the chairman, well, actually, it was the dean of the medical school, was the surgeon, and he was still digging away, trying to separate the parathyroids from the thyroid tissue. So that's always the problem. Doesn't look like it does in the anatomy, but the parathyroids look exactly like the rest of the tissue around them in thyroid TF.
Thank you, Chip, and thank you for reporting the transmission issue. Here in Hawthorne, I'm only 12 megabits per second on the network, and it's possible that I'm having some issues here on the internet and the bandwidth. I don't know how many other devices are running right now, but periodically that's an issue and I have to reboot all the time. It was kidney this week for me, but it's ongoing issues, but I'm fine. And I'm very fortunate to be on the faculty at UF, and
That last part dropped down again, Jay.
okay, thank you. I'll keep my transmission short. Jack KD4, Isaac, go ahead. And 3 a.m. Keith, are you here right now? I know you were going to be busy this morning. Go ahead if you are.
AA4FL in the group. This is N3IM. Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. I don't know whether your DB stick is causing your problem or whether it's just some intermittent stuff with the internet causing you to break in and out from time to time. But could be either. Everybody else seems to be coming in fairly well. WJAD was a little hot when he came in. It almost sounded like he had marbles in his mouth, but he's corrected that, so I think he'll be a lot better. I don't have a whole lot to say here. We got through the hurricane sort of hit us on the East Coast, not over here so much, but we had a lot of heavy weather coming up out of Texas. It hit us for a couple of days, lots of lightning. It was a tremendous electrical storm. So we haven't been on the air much the last couple of days. I'm using an 897D, the Yaesu 897D right now as my other radios out in California. So that's all I have to say. This is N3IM, back to the group AA4FL.
Thank you, Keith. And best of luck on getting that radio back soon, although you have a replacement for just at least fun. If the electrical storms will allow you that time. KE0RUZ, Chad, go ahead.
KE0RUZ, Chad. I'm in Carthage, Missouri, and in the nation right now, we're in one of the hot spots for COVID, unfortunately. Our vaccination rates in southwest Missouri have been very low, with one of my local counties being around 18%. So we've seen a dramatic increase in hospitalizations. A lot of the hospitals around here are having to divert COVID patients beyond the local area to regional hospitals in Kansas City and farther. So it's pretty bad down here. There's a lot of efforts around trying to improve vaccination, but those are kind of hit or miss. Very stubborn people and communities, and very wary of government, quote unquote, government developed vaccines. So we've got a long haul ahead of us, unfortunately. Over.
We're sorry to hear about the local challenges. I wasn't aware what part of Missouri you were in, Chad, and we're sorry to hear about that. And I hope everyone weathers the storm and others get vaccinated. I know it's a little late if you wanted to prevent the spread and have a few weeks after your second dose, but if it's a wake-up call, perhaps in the long run that will help some, even though others I've read some of the reports that came out individually on the personal end. People had issues there, and it's sad to hear. Any other comments about that, Chad? Go ahead.
So there is one positive thing that I can say we've been doing. I've been working with our primary care team and our hospital reporting, and through the month of June, we had roughly about 120 hospitalizations for COVID. Only a handful of which were vaccinated individuals. And when you start doing the math, about 91% of our admissions were directly related to unvaccinated individuals. So I think the bright side of this is the vaccine does seem to be working against the Delta variant, which is a prominent variant in our area right now. We're seeing that percentage rate equal to what had been reported, around 88% effectiveness. So I think that's the bright side of things that we're looking at, is that the vaccine is effective as we would expect it to be. I don't know, those statistics only represent one hospital out of several in the region, but that I found very encouraging. So we're working, at the ground level, trying to encourage people to vaccinate, but we've not found that keystone touch point that will make people see the light in it. So we keep trudging along, trying to get to the other side, and hopefully we don't lose a lot of people along the way. So I appreciate everything that folks are doing, not only across the country but across the world, in helping to stem this pandemic. And God bless you all. And I'll be clear.
Well, thank you, Chad, for being here with us today to let us know what's happening locally. It's a wake-up call for some of us that are complacent, but I'm sure that in many states there's pockets or areas that have had similar problems, not as prominent as in southwest Missouri. We understand and wish everyone the best, and that whether this storm maybe this is the last time we have to address this type of an issue here. We're planning a DX trip to the Caribbean, and next May, starting to think that dealing with different countries and entities, who knows? And they've gotten some of the vaccines from China and Russia. There's so much yet unknown. It's affecting everyone, even indirectly or directly, in the economy and such. So let's hope that we're on the home run here towards solving this international conundrum problem. Thank you for your report, Chad. And I don't know, Howard.
And I don't know. Good morning. Nothing particularly new here. You also broke up on my end on your earlier report, but I think the gist of it was things went well for you. I hope that's the case. Otherwise, I just thought I'd check in again and monitor and participate, but I didn't have anything to bring to the fore. So I hope everyone's doing well. And then I don't know.
Thank you, Howard, and thank you for your recent submissions of information on the topics that were discussed on previous weeks. We do appreciate that. Thank you for being here with us. PY2 BBQ Hilton, how about it? How are things going down in Brazil? Over.
Okay. This is Papa Yankee 2, Bravo, Quebec, Hilton, from São Paulo, Brazil. Good morning, everybody. Good to hear you this week. Last week we didn't have our NAT celebrating the Independence Day, and I had time working the 13 original colonies event in ham radio and could manage it via a plane sweep. Work at all the stations, most of them in CW. Very nice. And today we have a little contest. I could make some QSOs either in SSB and CW this morning. It's interesting how the propagation improves in the contesting days, isn't it? Well, talking about COVID-19 here in Brazil, we have some news. Wait one. Okay, this is PY2 BBQ, and this BB. Well, regarding the vaccination, we are improving the numbers quickly. This week we achieved more than 82 million people that received at least the first doses of the vaccine, and that's more than half of the adult population of the country. And about 25 or 30 million receive already both 2 doses of vaccine. And that started to change the numbers. Not only the numbers of the new cases and deaths decreased, but there was also a change in the pattern of the patient, of in-hospital patients and death that changes from the old patients to the younger patients. And that happened because most of the older patients, of the older people in Brazil have already received the vaccine. So we think that in about 2 months, almost 100% of the population, of the adult population, will be vaccinated, and we can have this epidemics under control. So those are news here in Brazil, and back to that control, and one now, UY2 BBQ.
I do thank you, Phelps. I do have a follow-up question to your COVID vaccination, two actually. One is how is the Sinovac, I think that's the one you're using, the Chinese vaccine holding up. And the second is the Amazonian population, the indigenous tribes. Are we getting access? And I know there was a flare earlier in some of the Amazonian areas. Has the vaccine penetrated into the remote areas as well, and even beyond Brazil's border into Ecuador and the neighboring Amazonian communities? Over.
For FL and the DiviNet group, to returning. Yes, very, very interesting questions. First, regarding the type of vaccines, well, most of the vaccines given here in Brazil are the Coronavac, which is a Chinese vaccine, and it's very safe, but not as effective as the RNA vaccines like Pfizer's or Moderna. But it's working. It's working. It controls the pandemics in other countries like Chile, and the same here in Brazil. And we also have a part of the population receiving the Oxford AstraZeneca's vaccine, and in a lower amount, the Pfizer's and the Janssen vaccine. So there is a mix of vaccines, but they are all seem to work. And here, the dominant coronavirus is the stem from the Amazon. We have found some patients with the Indian, but it's not prevalent so far. Wait, what? Okay, BBQ action control. And the second question was about the vaccination in the Amazon area. Yes, it's going on, and actually, it's more advanced than in the rest of the country. I have the chart in front of me, and I see that in the Amazon states, we have already almost 40% of the population fully vaccinated. And just for comparison, here in São Paulo, which is the most developed state of the country, we have 45% of the population fully vaccinated. So it's going on in a good rhythm, and the numbers actually in the Amazon area are lower than in any other states in the country at this time. So back to UA4FL, UY2BB.
Thank you for the report, Wilson. This is AA4FL Net Control for the Medical Amateur Radio Council. I'm going to pause one here just to take any late check-ins. Anyone who has not yet that would like to check you on this, go ahead and make your call this time. Hey, 4FL, 84 I did. I'm back online here ahead of, well, possible I think, I'm alright. 84 I just. Thank you for rejoining the net, Jack. It's good to hear you back again. Let me just finish up the comments and two of Hilton, and then we'll step back on the list before we pick up WJ8B and give you a chance to come in and make your presentation. So Hilton, if you can keep an eye on the Delta variant, the Indian variant, and see how that unfurls in the country, since you're using so much of the Chinese vaccine, we'd be interested in hearing a report on that next week and subsequent weeks, because it's becoming dominant here in many areas in the United States. And the other issue, if you're aware of how much of the Chinese vaccine is being used in the Caribbean, perhaps next week you can tell us about that and whether or not the Delta variant is going to be covered by that in a high amount, both in terms of infection and in terms of seriousness of hospitalization. We'll pick up on that either the next roundtable today or on the next go round or next week, Hilton. Go ahead, Jack. KD4, how's that? Okay, very good, Jay. Caught me getting on the on ramp here to Interstate 83 and south towards the house. I was running some errands this morning and also had the local club meeting, which is always a good thing to get caught up with. Anyway, punched into traffic here, so I'm good to go for a minute. Don't much have a whole lot to add. I don't have a lot of information right now from Susie on the status of things here in this area, in the Baltimore region. But I imagine that they probably mirror most of the Northeast. So the Delta variant is beginning to happen more often. Kind of listening to the powers that be at CDC and to Mr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci. Make sure, I'm in tune with that. Otherwise, I'm staying out of the way, as a good retired person should do. KD4 Isaac. Well, Jack, thank you for joining us this morning and for everything you do for Marco and for your fellow amateur radio operators. They're always a great resource for digital voice as well as inspirational for many hands in our organization and beyond. Thank you, Jack. Making the presentation last month here about the pediatric aspects. And I hope you're both going to have a nice weekend. WJ8B, Andrew, go ahead.
Okay, let me test a little bit. Is the audio any better?
Absolutely, Andrew. It went from being hot to being a little low normal, but I'd leave it alone. Sounds great. Go ahead.
Okay, well that sounds better. So, busy week this week. My oldest son, who lives in the Washington, D.C. area, visited here with his wife, Forrest, and my two grandsons. So we've been very busy with family activity this week. We have our grandsons of 3.5, so one actually has 3 in the first year. So, past week, this last week, I don't think there was enough. The week before, I believe it was field day, and we had our own group that did field day as an emergency power thing with the USD antennas. We had 3 stations. We had 2,186 points, and then we had a couple of pictures and stuff that were posted afterwards. So all successful. Lots of attendees. Answers and some not. And one young answer was only 13 years of age. We were doing that today. Listening once again. First, my contact was in terms of total year in Ohio, it continues to mostly decline. I think for fully vaccination rate is around 48, 49%. That still could be a little better. I think the percentage of people having first doses is maybe slightly over 50%. The older individuals are well vaccinated. Once again, it's the younger individuals that seem to feel like they're invincible or not getting it, and also the ones that are spreading. Do have a medical procedure plan this later is going to meet on the internet atrial fibrillation to finally underway inflation. Did you hear the internet after the actions to the back UK thing?
Well, yeah, we're able to copy everything there from you. And Andrew, I'm glad you had a chance for your family to visit. I'm sure you missed those grandkids during the COVID crisis here before there was more, you were protected. And I hope your ablation goes well and you get back in a good sized rhythm here, good rhythm. And I wish you the best as that goes smoothly. Thank you for joining us today and participating. We'll have another go around here, perhaps get some more comments. And N4 TSC, Jerry, how's your equipment holding up this morning?
Okay, AA4FL and 4TSC returning. Yes, I concur with all the reports from all the stations regarding your transmissions, Jay. So, whatever problems you're having, maybe or maybe not, they will be the same as mine. But anyway, notwithstanding the issues with your transmits, my radio just shuts down and cycles on and off, and I can't make out anything but one word or two here and there. Stand by one. Anyway, currently we're experiencing the passage of a thunder bumper here in Boca, and it will probably pass fairly quickly. And that's what you have to look forward to when you come down here for the next 3.5 weeks, Jay, because every afternoon around 3 o'clock, normally, we get our thunderstorms that come passing through. So that's what you have to look forward to. Don't know exactly what Hilton talked about, but I think that the question that is facing all of us right now is about the COVID is how long will the immunity from the vaccine last? There are questions not so much as to whether the immunity that we get from the mutation version D will protect us, but how long will that protection last? And that's what the question is that's coming up for evaluation by Pfizer as well as by the CDC, and I think that the CDC that rather than dealing with the issue of getting a full immunity for long term with a booster, and that's maybe always that political give and take to look at it from a medical point of view. Anyway, with that, hopefully you could copy me well, and I'll turn it back to you, Jay. And welcome back to South Florida when you get here on Monday, AA4FL and 4TSC.
Right, and 4TSC is a little bit in and out here. On your chat, we got a lot of that. We got equipment back in order. Go ahead.
I'm sorry you broke up, so I didn't quite get your question. Go ahead and repeat it again, Jay. Over.
Okay, I had you drop out here, so I don't know if it was on my end or yours, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next person on the list, and we'll come back there, Jerry, to you on the next go round. K3FZT, Stephen, go ahead.
AA4FL and the group. This is K3FZT. Thanks much, Jay, for holding the net. Jerry, you had multiple dropouts here. I am both monitoring the reflector and I am actually connecting to the QuadNet array through the Wires X room that they host in Abilene, Texas. I like trying the different modes to connect to the QuadNet array. So today it's Wires X because I just figured out how to put up such a node with just my HT and computer. Moving back to the COVID story and sharing a bit of information about Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is apparently among the top tier of states in which people have received at least one dose of the two-dose vaccines, up past 70%. But two doses, completing the series is more problematic and is actually below 50% unless you're looking at the 65 and over population, for which I qualify. My wife and I qualify. Philadelphia continues to have the challenge of engaging the younger population and particularly the younger population of people of color. And that's a ongoing effort by the health department and a number of different organizations, including an African American physicians group, which is the one that's had the greatest success. Beyond that, I was sorry to miss, to a degree, I was sorry to miss the Field Day Saturday Marco DVNet, but boy, did I have a great time at Field Day. And the club I was with, the Philmont Mobile Radio,
So this is AA4FL. Having dropouts here might be on my end, Steve. K3FZT. It seems that there's a lot of different issues. I don't know how many are originating with me, but go ahead. K3FZT, AA4FL. Okay, this is AA4FL Net Control. Are there any other stations that would like to make a presentation for a second roundtable here as we go around? Any other follow-up comments? I'll make a list here. Go ahead and call me and let me know if you have some additional comments you'd like to make. Go ahead at this time. This is AA4FL. Let me be aware.
Mine was a timeout. I can tell quite clearly. My dropout was a timeout on the repeater. K3FZT.
Thank you for letting me know that, Stephen. Are there, again, any stations that would like to make a second presentation of additional information? And then we put a few things up for Hilton to discuss next week. But go ahead and make your call and let me know if you'd like to do additional discussion today. Okay, nothing heard. I admit we're a little bit early on the net here today. Usually we last an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. We're a little light on the check-ins and seem to be having technical issues today. Many of us are. Good news is I'll be back in gigabit networking areas. My TV6 hopefully will behave better rather than the stretched 12 megabits per second I'm doing here, sharing about many devices here in Hawthorne. Unfortunately, I won't be on the net next week. I'm going to have to ask someone else to be net control. I'm going to have to make an airport run for my kids for a trip that they're making. This is AA4FL. Thank you for the checking in this week and joining the Marco Digital Voice Net. As usual, the recordings, let it drop one. Recordings will be present, courtesy of Chet N5RTF, who has done the audio recording on the Marco DDS server. And then we also have Hilton's YouTube video recording stream. So if you had some technical issues and weren't sure if they were on your end or not, those are two good references to monitor and to evaluate the technical aspects of your performance. So thank you very much for joining us this week. We'll say 7-3, and although I may miss you next week, I'll be in the fast internet land down there for 3 weeks after, 2 or 3 weeks after, and we'll rejoin you the following week. 7-3 to all, and again, let me drop one. We appreciate the use of the Open Quad TV network, and it's an invaluable service, something that we would not be able to enjoy this level of communication without certainly the HF bands will become more palatable, but roundtables like this just don't seem to work as well on the high bands. On the 20-meter band, maybe on 40 and 80 better so for smaller regions. This opens up the world to us. It's very much the volunteer effort that they put forth is appreciated. With that being said, we're going to end the net and return the Quadhead array to the general amateur community, and I will still be here for a few minutes. If anybody wants to make some personal post-net comments, talk to me. AA4FL 730.
AA4FL in TSC.
Good morning, Jerry. Go ahead.
Yeah, AA4FL N4TSC. I don't know whether you got any of my comments before because of the dropout, but one of the questions I have is, are you experiencing the same thing when you're listening to Hilton EY2BDQ? He drops out and totally cycles my MD380, although since you're using a stick to make the connection, maybe you're not experiencing the same thing. The only other question that I had was that as far as the COVID is concerned, we know that people with double vaccinations have some immunity against the mutation, the D mutation of the COVID virus. And the question is, how long will it last? And my comment was, this thing is becoming a conflict between the CDC's desire to get everyone vaccinated and the political and the medical on the political side and on the medical side as to whether the thing is going to be effective and for how long. Those were basically the comments that I was making. AA4FL N4TSC.
Understood, Jerry. Well, the Pfizer vaccine, you got good data coming out of Israel. I think everybody can track there has access to it. And I guess they're saying now, after 2 doses, the effectiveness against reinfection is only sitting about 67%. That's an mRNA vaccine. But the hospitalization rate is not the issue. So severe disease prevented, but disease in general, not so much. But we haven't seen anything, I don't think, from Moderna yet. And, of course, Pfizer is probably ahead of the desire for a booster because they know what's coming out of their data in Israel. Over.
And I think that's precisely what the question is. We know that we've got immunity from the D variant to the D mutation. The question is, how long will that last? And Pfizer is hedging its bet by creating a booster to try to deal with that issue. We do know that even with the quote-unquote breakthrough, the severity of the disease is quite limited, and even when it leads to hospitalization, it has not led to the requirement of having be put on a ventilator. So, basically, you can see what's happening. It's following the pattern of a whole bunch of other diseases that we've had in the past that we've had vaccinations against, and so they're just being prudent. AA4FL N4TSC.
Hilton, go ahead with your comment. PY2BBQ, AA4FL.
A4FL, A4IZ, Jack. And also there was a comment from Gerald regarding the duration of the protection. Well, it's been seen that either for vaccinated people and for those who had the infection, the neutralizing antibodies tend to decrease in time, and probably the protection as well. And the other point is that we have the mutation. So I believe that this is going to be just like the influenza vaccination, where we have annual vaccines, and what we see in this hemisphere is that we use the vaccines against the mutations of influenza that were found 6 months earlier in the northern hemisphere and vice versa. So probably it will happen the same with the coronavirus. The vets are vaccinating our pets for years against coronavirus, and it must be given annually because the antibodies drop. So probably it will be just the same. We will need vaccinations and the vaccine for every year. Here in São Paulo, in the Butantan Institute, there's been developed a new vaccine against the mutations from England, South Africa, Amazon, and India. They're all put together to this new vaccine that will be ready probably in 5 or 6 months. It's been studying phase 3 right now. So that's the point. And regarding Well, I'm not sure you received my transmission, but the second point was about the problems within my with the reception of my and therefore technical points. I'm transmitting to a local repeater, and I'm working just 5 watts from my handheld transceiver to an external antenna J-pole that's in the top of the building, and the repeater is about 4 or 5 miles away from. So that's the point. Probably issues with the internet or something related. But what I see is that the QuadNet is working great. Most of the problems we had first rounds, we are not seeing this time. So thanks to people from QuadNet, they're doing a great job, including that who was not wires, which was Steve, was transmitting through Wires X, and his audio and transmission was great. So thanks to QuadNet Personal. So back to net control, A4FL, PY2BDQ.
Okay, Hilton. Of course, we closed the net, so now it's just personal discussion. I'm not sure, Jerry. He said for some reason your signal poses a problem with his MD380. I'm not using the MD380. Kind of gave up on it. Just using the DV stick and having the internet problems here. So, Jerry, are you still with us? Go ahead.
Yes, Jay, I'm still here, but I'm not all there. If you could give a summary as to what Hilton was saying, that might be helpful. He just causes my MD380 to recycle. It goes off and on and off and on, and I hear a word in between, and then it just cycles out. I don't know whether he is using the same access as I'm using with the DMR radio for the QuadNet, and maybe that's what the issue is. Maybe it's just translating his signal to the MD380's digital signal. He may be using another one, and maybe that's the reason why he's dropping out. I suspect that he can copy me, but I can't copy him. And I guess I'll have to either go to a DV stick or to a more updated radio. Anyway, back to you. AA4FLN4TSE.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. I've given up on the MD380. I've stretched to its limits and capabilities. So I have a lot of aggravation from it, not since I have the DV stick. Anyway, although here on the slow internet, that's not the advantage. But Hilton was using a local repeater. He's using a J-pole. That's a little high. Using a repeater. Line here. What the 380 issue with don't think it's 380. I just agree with the only one with the 380. I have this is a left bell. So, whatever. Bring it in. Going to everyone. See you in a couple of weeks. Somebody is next control. You guys have a good week. So I'm leaving you. Yes, please.
I don't know whether you turned it back to me, Jay, or whether you turned it to Hilton, but you were breaking up. Anyway, AA4FLN4TSE.
before I do, Jack, go ahead and take the mic. I'm going to pop out and go QRT, but go ahead and it sounds like you have some comments. AA4FL on QRT. See everyone in the future net. 7-3.